Thank you all for joining ASI's Addressing Student Needs webinar. I am your ASI President, Diana Chavez, and I have here an amazing group of key university stakeholders who will be answering many of your questions. ASI in the past 2 weeks have collected over 100 student questions from our survey that was promoted on social media and in the main walkway. Those will be the same exact questions that I will be asking today, the questions of students. For students to stay to the end of the event and complete our evaluation form will be automatically entered into a giveaway. So please stand by to the end and hopefully you all win at something. Now I do want to use this time to give the floor to our university president.
All right, well, here we are. Afternoon, everyone. Thank you for participating. Thanks to all my colleagues and all of the students who are gathering for this. We hope that it will be informative and engaging, and certainly we want to be as communicative as possible as we move through all of the challenges and achievements of the university and look toward a great academic year together. So I'll turn it over to you, Diana.
Great, thank you so much. Now let me find, I have so many tabs open. We can now begin with the questions. So for today, I will be facilitating, and if time permits, the last 10 to 15 minutes, we will have time for a Q&A to answer any follow-up questions or anything like that. So I want to begin with the first question, and this will be regarding facilities. So the first question is, how often are computers and labs being sanitized?
Thank you, Diana. This is Joyce. I'm the Vice President of Administration and CFO, and I'm hoping I can really provide some insight into this question. It's a great question. So we do sanitize our computers and labs once a day. There's also sanitized wipes that are equipped in each classroom. I also brought facility staff to provide a lot more detail because they are in this day-to-day, making sure that we have all of the resources that we need to clean the classrooms. So Barbara, if you wanted to extend on that a little bit of what we do.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joyce. Barbara Queen, our AVP for Facilities Planning, Design, and Construction. So we've been working with our custodial staff and managers to work across campus within the schedules for the use across campus of our classrooms. And at a minimum, we are cleaning 1 time per day, a deep clean. We go through our restroom facilities hourly so we can maintain our cleanliness and upkeep inside of those rooms. Elevators and drinking fountains, those type of utility across campus are also cleaned 1 time per day, and along with the restrooms, they will adjust those at once per hour. So so we're responding to needs across campus. We do receive calls into our work control center if there's anything like our sanitary stations across campus where we're providing masks and hand sanitization, and we check those as well throughout the day. We are keeping an eye. We have an inspector that walks the campus and keeps an eye out for things that he can report back to with our facilities group as well.
Great, thank you so much. And for a reminder, administrators, when it's time for you to answer a question, may you please introduce yourself as well. So thank you. Next question, and it's still going to be part of the facilities question. So what facilities need a student ID to use their service? And we're talking about the Cal State student ID.
Right, and that's also a good question. This is Joyce, again, the CFO. Most student-centric areas would definitely require access using your Cal State ID. Again, I know the overview of some of the buildings, but I'm going to let Troy give a little bit more insight into the exact buildings that are needed to really make sure you're informed.
Hi, my name is Troy Allen, and I am the Senior Director in Facilities Plan, Design, and Construction. Thank you, Joyce. As Joyce mentioned, there are numerous facilities on our campus that require a one-card ID of student ID. And we do this purposefully because this also ensures safety for our students with access into those areas. Some of the areas that require campus ID are computer labs, open access labs, which are copy and printing facilities, as well as our library, checking out books, and also our health center, and student union and special events and purchases in that area, as well as our fitness center and our public safety parking area. Access to these buildings outside regular business hours are also available with these one cards. So we do this to ensure the safety of our students as well as identifying them as our students on campus. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Next question, and this would be like a two-part, more like a four-part question, and it's regarding elevators. So this is one big issue that I've noticed with students. So the first couple questions are, why are elevator permits expired? Is it safe to use?
Thank you, Diana. That's me again. And yes, the elevators are definitely safe to use. And I know the question has come up several times about the permits and how they work and how we're in compliance. And again, Barbara can provide a lot more detail around how we manage the permits on campus.
Yes, thank you, Joyce. Yes, the elevators are safe to use. When the state manages the permitting for our elevators, and when we first construct them, they come out and give us our first permit. And as within the year, they would look to come out again. And typically what they're looking to do is look at the campus maintenance records. So that is when the state inspector comes out, they will be looking at our campus records. So the campus does have a full-time contract with an elevator mechanic who is on site every day and will respond to any issues that are brought to our attention and just regular maintenance across the university as well. So, so they are safe to use. COVID has definitely put the state behind on issuing personnel out to the campuses. So they are in the process of catching up, and we have been communicating with them, and they did come out and update our permits. But just to reinforce, they are safe to use. The permit is based on our maintenance records that we're complying with the state safety orders and such. So thank you.
Great, thank you. And this is a follow-up question to the elevators. So a lot of times students come to realize there's a broken elevator when they're trying to get to class. To whom and how can students report a broken elevator?
I can follow up, Joyce, with some information. So our facilities services team, we run our contract with our elevator mechanic, and typically what we ask is that if it's during our normal business hours, anyone can contact us at our work control center. That extension on campus, if you're on campus, is the 33440 number for facilities services. If it's after hours, so our business hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday at facilities services. Public safety can be reached after hours, and their extension is 33700, and they would be after hours as well as weekends. And so on the campus itself, we've over the last 2 years, we've been working regularly on upgrades to our elevators. So more recently, we've completed the Library North elevator replacements, King Hall, Simpson Tower, and there's several others that are in the process of being just addressed as far as their mechanical and control systems. So, and we continue to work on those as as time permits. So those are in process. And we do have some links. I believe we can share those. There's a link to our facilities services homepage, which has the contact information, and we can share the public safety contact information as well. And those are just direct phone lines that you can use to make the phone call. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Now moving away from the elevator conversation, the next question regarding facilities is how does the university plan on removing asbestos in housing and King Hall?
Again, I'm gonna let Barbara pretty much expand on that.
Thank you, Joyce. Yes. So library actually has had several abatement projects already. So many of those have been situations that have been addressed. King Hall, we're currently in the process of working with consultants to study this building's future on the campus. So we'll have some information to share with that project itself. And typically asbestos containing material, these were used in construction ahead of 1980. And in schools, we are typically asked, from a legal standpoint, as we manage asbestos, that we manage it of a principle of in-place management, where the removal isn't necessarily required, but we do look at it from whether it will be disturbed or if it's damaged. And in those cases, we would come in and absolutely render an immediate cleanup of the area. So we do, our Cal State LA Risk Management and Environmental Health and Safety Department manages the asbestos on campus. And so they are continually monitoring those situations, as well as they do issue out the campus notification and provide some information on asbestos on campus. There's also on their website a very good understanding of asbestos on campus. So it'd be a link that we can also share for you with some further information. Hopefully that helped you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so next question. So as this fall, we repopulated the campus about 50%. There was a lot of questions and a lot of issues that students were dealing with. And one of them was actually the water fountains and the vending machines. So we've come to see that the water fountains and the vending machines are either not in used. So we're wondering, students are wondering how often are they restocked, and when will they be open? Will they be open for next spring?
Yeah, Diana, that's a good question. And we are in the process of actually opening up the water fountains. As you mentioned, they were locked during the COVID as far as when we had that direction from the health department. But now we are in the process of reopening. We're going to continue to install water stations, bottled water stations throughout campus. We have a partnership with UAS, and we're working with their vendors to actually make sure our inspector that's out that's going to start restocking water to make sure it's available. So we are in the process of actually doing that, and you should see a difference in the next couple of weeks. And Troy can expand if I missed anything.
Thank you, Joyce. I think you covered most. I did just want to highlight that we have been in conversations with Coca-Cola over the last few weeks, and they are actually monitoring the vending machines weekly as opposed to the bi-weekly schedule that they were doing during COVID. So you should see the vending machines being replenished much more expeditiously on campus. Also, we are, as Joyce mentioned, about to unlock some of the water fountains based on COVID limitations. But we're also implementing more LK bottle filling stations throughout campus. We currently have 90% of the buildings stocked with 1 or 2 or more LK water bottle filling stations, which are the touchless stations, which are obviously helping our pandemic situation. So we're in the process of adding more of those, and that will be happening throughout this year as well as the spring semester. And we do have water bottle filling stations throughout the Golden Eagle building, which should be pretty accessible for the students at this point. and throughout most of the other buildings on the first floor. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And while we're in the discussion of repopulating campus, I know next spring will be a lot more different than this fall. So a lot of students, and this is the number one question that we have been getting a lot, is now that we're going to be reopening in spring, will the university still offer more online classes, or how will that look like for spring?
We are offering more online classes than we ever did pre-COVID, dramatically higher number. We expect at this point, as we continue to modify the schedule a little bit and to listen to student concerns and needs, that we'll have in the spring 75 or 80% of our classes in person, and the remainder of them online or hybrid. So that's the current picture. Now, this is going to vary from department to department because of their particular teaching and learning scenarios, and vary from college to college and major to major. So that's not a uniform ratio, but it is the average ratio that we expect in the spring.
Great, thank you so much. And with the repopulation of campus in the spring, how will the university enforce the mask mandate or enforce social distancing in classrooms and even elevators for next spring?
Hi, Diana. Thank you for that question. Excuse me. I'm Octavio Villalpando, Vice President for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Student Life. So I'm happy to take that question. Currently, as you know, we continue to follow guidance from the LA County Health Department and State Health Department guidelines, as well as other units. And the guidance right now does not require physical distancing or social distancing. So while we encourage the entire campus community to engage in safe practices by not putting themselves or others at risk, we will continue to ask our community to wear a mask while indoors, and strongly encourage our community to wear a mask while we are outdoors. LA County Health does not currently require mask wearing when you're outdoors, but we certainly are not going to prohibit anybody from wearing a mask if they want to feel safer. When you're in the classroom, you should always wear a mask, because obviously you're indoors, and faculty do encourage students to wear masks while indoors. So it's important for us to continue to abide by county health guidelines and just engage in safe practices. There's no reason to put yourself or others at risk. And I think mask wearing, according to the CDC, has been found to be one of the safest ways that we can remain safe and healthy from becoming exposed to a COVID-related infection.
Great, thank you. And I know for the spring, as students will be coming back, one of the biggest concerns is obviously COVID and what happens if one of our students unfortunately catches COVID. Will students get notified if, one, they have been exposed, and two, what is the typical protocol of when a student has been exposed to COVID? Does the community get an email? What are the resources for that student? So it's a two-part question.
So let me begin just saying in general that our Student Health Center and associated folks are certainly paying attention to reports of exposure and confirming those reports, and then interviewing the affected student or students to kind of trace what their contacts have been like, and informing those who have been in close, prolonged contact that they may have been exposed. Now, what the consequence of that will vary relative to whether the students involved have been vaccinated or not, and what the next steps will be will vary. But students who are identified will receive full attention and instructions for the next steps to take. Octavio, do you want to add to that?
I would just add that the LA County Health Department has very clear and explicit guidelines to manage infections, and we abide by those 100%. So you should, no student should be concerned about not being contacted if they come into contact with somebody who's been infected. We will follow the protocol. And just keep in mind that if the infection rate continues to decrease, we're likely to see a different future for our campus, where for the state, for LA, where the mask mandate may no longer be required, for example, and there may be different protocols to follow. As I said, as the president said, we do have information about the current protocols available in our Health Watch website, and everybody is invited to review those. We update them consistently whenever there is any change in policy or procedure. So if anybody has any questions or concerns about what those protocols are, I invite you to take a visit and contact our Dean of Students office if anything is unclear related to exposure or follow-up.
Yeah, the Health Watch website is right at the top of the homepage for Cal State LA. And you can click on specific information for students, for faculty, for staff. It's very extensive. As we learn of additional questions or additional protocols or processes, we post them there. And you can certainly, as Vice President Villalpando said, contact the Dean of Students office if anything is either unclear or you need some follow-up information. So please do, check that regularly.
Great, thank you. And one of the other bigger questions that we got from the student body regarding repopulation is the vaccine. So there's another two-part question. Is the vaccine required to come back to campus for the spring semester? And if so, how will students be notified if their vaccination card has been approved?
Yes, the vaccine requirement is a requirement for all students, faculty and staff, unless you qualify for an exemption. And every student who has submitted evidence supporting documentation of receiving a vaccination has been or is in the process of being contacted if any of that information is missing additional details. So one of the best ways to determine whether you're fully in compliance will be when you begin to register. If you notice that there is some problem with you registering, that means that you need to check your email, because more than likely the Dean of Students office has already sent you communication asking you to either update the information or complete additional information that you may not have submitted, or providing other guidance to students about the vaccine requirement. It is important to understand that this is not a Cal State LA requirement. This is a statewide requirement, okay, that everybody be vaccinated in order to attend a Cal State and other public education institutions. So it's a safety requirement that we all want to abide by, because we keep ourselves safe as well as others in our community. So very much so, vaccine requirement will be fully enforced by the beginning of the fall semester.
Great, thank you. And the next question regarding the repopulation still, and this one I resonated with a lot. Will there be drinking or eating allowed in classrooms for the spring semester? As someone who is a snacker like I am, I think this one would be really helpful to be informed about. So what is the limitations to that for spring?
Thank you, Diana. The current guidance discourages eating in the classroom because of the closed confined spaces and because it requires people to lower their masks. So we discourage eating in the classroom. Now, what the conditions will be like in the middle of January, when everybody's back in session, we don't know. We may be able, county may be in a different position to lift that requirement. But as somebody who likes to snack during the day, believe me, I very much share that same sentiment. I'd like some of these mandates to be lifted as soon as we reach safe levels of immunity in our community, in our campus community, especially.
Great, thank you. That one kind of touched me. Unfortunately, I can't eat during classroom, but it's okay. And then next question. So how can we report a teacher or a student if they're not wearing masks in class, and can we send the report anonymous?
Absolutely. We have invited students to contact the Dean of Students office. If there is sort of a person who habitually fails to follow protocol guidance by wearing a mask indoors or in the classroom, and that extends to students, faculty, and staff. And we take that very seriously, obviously, again, because you're not just placing yourself at risk, you're potentially placing others at risk. So we do highly encourage that our protocols are followed very closely.
Great, thank you so much. The next questions will be regarding finances. So will the financial aid center be open for in-person appointments?
I can take that. Did you want to say anything about it, President Covino?
I just wanted to frame it and then let you continue, Margaret, that financial aid is innovating this year and trying to serve students efficiently and effectively technologically, as well as having an in-person presence. So Margaret, why don't you add some info?
Yes, I am happy to have the opportunity to talk about some new technology that we're using. But first, we're in a new location, and in that new location, it's nice. Come visit us. And in fact, this is a very good time for students to come seek advising from financial aid or records admissions. I'm going to put a plug in for all of them because this is more of a downtime where they can meet with students. But we have increased our, we've shifted the balance so that right now we actually have more in-person advising hours than virtual remote advising hours available. And we'll keep assessing that. Whatever the student needs are, if we'll make a shift in what's available. But right now, Monday through Thursday, there are set hours for advising walk-in. And then Fridays currently are set aside for virtual advising. The walk-in advising and just any type of walk-in services for student services in financial aid, admissions, records. We're using a new technology called Eagle Queue, and that is a queuing. It's a way to get in line without getting into a physical line. And this is going to offer a great deal of convenience to students because if you've ever gone to a restaurant, and it's been a while, I know for some people to have gone to a restaurant, but you know how they take your information and then especially on the cell phone, and they let you know when your table's going to be ready. And it allows you to wander. We're using a system where you use your cell phone, and if you don't have a cell phone, there are iPads available. You just log in that you're there, and you need to see someone in admissions, records, financial aid. And if you want to see a series of folks, that ability is there too. Once you see someone, you don't have to get in a long line. You can be put into the next queue. But this allows you to use the restroom without having to just wait in line. Maybe even maybe not, hopefully you don't have a lot of time to go stand in line somewhere else, get some food and come back, but you would know if you have that opportunity. Or if you had a 10-minute wait and took a chance and went to grab some coffee and realized I'm not going to be back in 10 minutes and it's my turn, you don't have to go all the way to the end of the line. You just ask for a couple more minutes. It's a convenience that students will have. So lots of opportunity for students to come in person, get some help in person, face to face, and yet we are keeping those virtual opportunities open, and we are going to continue encouraging students to submit forms electronically. Even if they come in person, we want to help with that process because that helps with so many other things. So we're looking forward to seeing more students in person in our Student Services Center. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much. Next question, which was also another popular question regarding a student body, is why are students paying full tuition and fee prices when we are currently online and many services close early?
Yeah, I can't speak to the hours precisely. Maybe Joyce can help me with that. But the general answer, which we've been asked this question several times since the beginning of the pandemic, is that maintaining the university, maintaining the quality of services, maintaining the innovations that we have in place requires that we maintain the student fees, which are, by the way, the lowest in the CSU system, and continue so that the sustainability of our buildings and grounds and processes remains in place. Joyce?
Yeah, exactly. And to expand on that, that allows us that as we are reopening and increasing hours, the staff is here and available and our facilities are upgraded, as we've seen over the student union. We've been able to maintain our facilities, based on those continued tuition and fees. So that's pretty much why they're continuing to be charged and paid.
Thank you. Next question. So what are the qualifications for emergency grants and where can students find more information?
Sorry, I couldn't find the unmute button. That's an excellent question concerning emergency grants. Let me just point out that since spring 2020, we have the university has distributed emergency grants to approximately 3,530 unique students, okay? That's of our population. The grants have totaled over $1.7 million. Okay, these are grants that you don't have to repay. That's the money has come from multiple sources, but we're happy that we can provide this assistance to our students during this time of need. Eligibility for the grants is pretty straightforward. You have to be a currently enrolled student in good standing. We also have to be able to evaluate the financial need and related circumstances that come along with your request for an emergency grant. And of course, you have to submit an application with detailed information. We will do our best to help. We have an amazing team in the Dean of Students office, led by several folks that have been doing this for a very, very long time. And their number one priority is always to help serve students and to make sure that students need what they require, get what they require. So we still have grants available. We encourage students that if you have a need, okay, that you submit an application. You can find the information for grants, for emergency grants, on the website for the Dean of Students office. And we're happy to help also with emergency housing, by the way. It's not just emergency grants. If you have a need for emergency housing, you'll find information for that as well on the same page, on the Dean of Students webpage. This is something that we take very seriously on our campus, given the needs of our community, the communities where our students come from. And so we want to be responsible and we want to be responsive to that. So thank you for that question.
Let me add that all enrolled students, as any students visiting with us today know, have received an allocation of federal funding that's been made available to the university. And that's been either deposited in your account or mailed to you as a check, depending upon direct deposit situations. And that funding will be allocated again in the spring to all enrolled students. So we hope that that's a great help to you throughout the year.
Thank you. Next question, and this is regarding Dormie. So a lot of students were concerned and want to know why there was a 10% increase in the Dormie.
Our housing and residential life units are self-sustaining. So it's important for us to recognize that they get their operating revenue from rent. And the new construction that added about 1,500 additional beds did not obviously increase any rent, since this is the first year we've opened. But we did have to increase rent 10% over the last 2 years. So we haven't increased it in 2 years up until this semester. And we unfortunately have to do that to be able to repay the debt. It's not significant when you compare it to other campuses, but I know that it becomes a financial burden for students. But again, this is something that we want to be helpful with students and supportive of students. So if anybody should have any problems paying that rent, okay, or gaining eligibility to live in our dorms, you should reach out to our housing and residential life staff, who also are very willing and prepared to come up with multiple approaches to helping you remain or gain housing in our residence halls.
Great, thank you so much. The next following question will be regarding university services. One big one that we got was, can students still loan hotspots and laptops? And second, will that continue for the spring? And third, where can a student find more information on that?
Let me say absolutely, students can still borrow hotspots and computer equipment. Since summer 2020, we've distributed over 3,300 hotspots and about 1,800 laptops to our student body. We've done so through contactless drive-through methods or in person by accessing the One Access Lab in the University Student Union. I also want to add that thanks to a generous support from the Chancellor's Office, the Cal State University Chancellor's Office, we're also distributing CSU Success iPad bundles, which we've been distributing since September. They're for first-year freshmen and first-year transfer students, and they include obviously an iPad that comes with an Apple Pencil and a really fancy Apple Folio keyboard. We're one of only a handful of CSUs that are distributing this. So in short answer, absolutely. If you have a need for any of these technology needs, do not hesitate. We still have them available. You pay us a visit at the One Access Lab, or you can visit, once again, the Dean of Students Office that'll have information on the website on where you can get additional information about accessing these technological items.
Great, thank you. Next question. So for those who are currently coming to campus, many of us noticed that a lot of the services like Starbucks and the university library closed early. So students are wondering, when will the services reopen fully as in operating hours? When will the university library, offer their weekend hours and close at midnight? And same goes to the other services on campus.
So I can speak to the food services, and we will be back fully operational with our normal hours in the spring. And Amy can talk a little bit about the library.
Sure, I'm happy to talk about the library. The good news is that there are evening hours available in the library and weekend hours. Monday through Thursday, it's open until 9. On Friday, it's open till 6, and on Saturday, they have hours from 10 to 6. The Dean of the Library very carefully monitors the traffic in the library to determine if there's need for additional hours. On the weekends, the usage is still fairly low, but we are in discussions about expanding those hours, particularly as we get towards the end of the semester. And then, considering returning to the pre-COVID hours for the spring. So, stay tuned for that. That's part of an ongoing discussion. But if the patterns of student using it are being closely monitored, so we love to see people in there and using it, and that certainly helps us decide that we want to expand those hours.
Great, thank you. And Joyce, you mentioned food services, which was the next question I was going to ask. Will there be more food options available in the spring? I believe Johnny's Kitchen is no longer here with us. Will that be replaced? If you can touch base on that also, please.
Yeah, we are looking at other vendors and food places to come in. We do have some options. We won't have that in place for the spring, but by the fall, we definitely will have additional food options there. And we'll keep you updated as we engage others in those conversations about what's coming.
Great, thank you. And then next question.
What did you mention? Every table, Joyce?
Every table is open, fully open. We have one in Simpson Tower now. But yeah, every table open. Cafe 47 will also be open for the spring, but in replacing Johnny's I was referring to.
The second Every Table location has opened up in Salazar Hall in Simpson Tower. So now we have an additional food venue that's on the south side of the campus. We had heard from students, faculty, and staff that there weren't enough food venues or food options on the south side of campus, and that venue is now open now, including the other venue that's in the library. So if you haven't been there, it's brand new. It's a very nice space. It's larger than the one in the library, and it's very nice. And the food that they offer at Every Table is very COVID friendly, because it's all pre-packaged and wrapped. So that's also important.
Great, I did not know that. So thank you. I guess I'll be visiting the Salazar house soon. Okay, so the next question is regarding the bookstore. So what business role does the bookstore play on campus, and why is there a huge markup in prices?
So the university bookstore does partner with a lot of our departments, our faculty, and our staff to assist to make sure that we have timely course materials that are available for students, also making it immediately available. They also provide the opportunity for students to actually go in and select the materials they need, along with other general merchandise and food and supplies. The markup for the bookstore is within our industry standards, but it also covers the services that they are providing us and maintaining the operations and all of the merchandise and keeping up with the volume of students who come in and need those services.
Thank you. And then the last question I want to ask regarding services is how does a parent utilize the child care center and what is the process?
So the child care center is available from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and is actually available for our students who are parents to actually leave their kids while they actually attend classes. There is an application process. We have a wait list now, about 25 students, and we do prioritize students when looking at that wait list. And the application to actually apply for childcare, we'll have that link at the end of a slide. I believe that we have a link of resources.
Great, thank you. Now, I do want to use the remaining 10 minutes to ask any follow-up questions or anything like that. And students, if you're still here, please use the Q&A chat box to ask any further questions or any follow-ups. I would now be giving the floor to our ASI Vice President for Academic Governance, Amber Beasley, and she will be monitoring and facilitating along with Octavio for the Q&A session. So Amber, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, everybody. A pleasure to be here. Welcome. I hope you guys have been enjoying the program. Our first question is, will booster shot clinics be available on campus?
Let me take a stab at answering that. Right now, booster shots are not required. And as I said earlier, we will follow all of the guidance to the T that comes from the LA County Public Health. If they determine that booster shots are required for our university population, we will do everything we can to either provide that access here or make sure that our student community and campus community knows where they can access that.
Yeah, one other thing I want to mention is we have been having various vaccination fairs over the semester, providing appointments for our university community and external community to come on campus and receive their vaccinations. On Friday, we hosted a health fair here on campus with Queen's Care, which is a medical group, a local medical group, and Supervisor Hilda Solis. And it took place for most of the day on Friday, and we did offer booster shots there, as well as vaccinations and flu shots, because most people don't know that before the pandemic, over 50,000 people would die of the flu virus. The flu virus can be very deadly as well. So we want to make sure that our campus community also has access to the flu vaccine. And then in addition, we also provided free groceries for students or staff or members of the community that wanted groceries, and then several other resources and services that the county and local nonprofits provide to the community and our students. So I think we will continue to offer those programs, including possibly booster shots. I don't know that there'll be a mandate or anything like that, but we certainly want to provide more of those options that are on campus and easily accessible for our students, faculty, and staff, and also their families and our community members.
Thank you so much. Our next question will be, will students be able to attend campus with the vaccination exemption?
Yes, yeah, students who have received approval for an exemption will be able to continue to come to class and come to campus. At the moment, we're expecting that the students will have to continue to wear a mask. And we're also going to require that they test at least twice a week to ensure their own health and safety and reduce the possibility of transmission on the campus. But the Dean of Students Office has been reviewing hundreds of requests and have contacted students directly to let them know whether their request for an exemption, either a medical exemption or a religious based exemption, meets with the approval of the university, given the guidelines that we've been asked to follow by the Chancellor's office. But let me just make sure that it's clear that the exemption still will continue to require testing for the foreseeable future. So to those students who have an opportunity or may want to reconsider requesting an exemption, if they can, I would encourage them to instead seek a vaccination in place of an exemption so that students have the ability to enjoy all services and resources on the campus like everybody else. We did notice, just as an anecdote, we did notice, by the way, that once we communicated that students and others would be required to test up to twice weekly, that a lot of the students that had requested exemptions were suddenly uploading vaccination cards. So if that's the trend, we encourage you to continue to do that if you can get vaccinated so that you don't have to encounter testing when you come back in the spring semester. In fact, we're already testing right now. Athletes test routinely, housing residents test routinely more than the regular campus community. So we do take this very seriously, again, with the purpose of continuing to ensure our university community's health and safety, which is uppermost in our minds.
Thank you so much. Our next question is, if a student catches COVID during the semester, how will they be able to make up for classes and assignments? Will they be moved to online classes?
Amy, you want to answer that one?
Sure. So yeah, if a student is, experiencing symptoms of COVID, we would, first of all, encourage them to let the student health center know so that they can get all the advice about, how to take care of themselves. And also to make sure that if they had been on campus, that anyone that they had come in contact with are given that information. And so we can follow the protocols there. But we would encourage them to work with their faculty member, and unfortunately in any semester, students may have a situation that causes them to miss classes. And so we have processes in place, and faculty are familiar with working with students to make sure that they are able to continue with their coursework and be able to continue making good progress while they're recuperating. And so I would encourage them to first work with their faculty member, and if they encounter some sort of issue with that, then they should reach out to really anyone on this call so they can get help with that, because we want to make sure that students are able to recuperate and still be making good progress in their courses. So yeah, absolutely, we'll make sure that students are taken care of in that situation.
The good news is that so many of our students have already received the vaccine that even when a student tests positive, usually they're asymptomatic or have very minor symptoms. So it's usually not too extensive of a time away from the classroom. And what I really appreciate, and I'm very proud of, is that our wonderful faculty at Cal State LA have been so helpful, supportive, and accommodating of our students when they've tested positive, or they've been sick, or when anything happens. Frankly, we've got an amazing faculty, and we also have a lot of support resources for our students that I also want to mention, like the health center, the Office of Students with Disabilities, and various other student services around the campus that help support our students when they have challenges or just experiencing the complexities of life and college. So thank you.
Yes, of course. And I think we have time for one or two more questions, but I think one of the questions that's come up is, are there intentions to hire more CAPS counselors?
Absolutely. 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 There is no greater goal right now that we have on this campus than to provide our students with as much mental health support as they may need. Okay. And when I moved into this position, President Covino made it clear that that needed to be our ongoing priority to serve students. Our students, as you all know, have been are from communities who have just been devastated by COVID, by the effects of COVID. We understand that. And we want to make sure that students have full access to mental health resources on campus. Just this week, we hired another full-time counselor who is located full-time in housing and residential life to ensure that our residents have immediate access, even after hours access, to counseling and any other services that they may need. So that continues to be a high priority for us. This week, I'm also happy to share with you that we have 3 job offers out to another 3 candidates that we hope, these are outstanding candidates that we hope will accept our offer and join us in the near future. And we're not stopping the recruitment process. We're going to continue to recruit highly qualified counselors that understand our student body and that are prepared to work with college students in the way that we need them to work and support our student community. So most definitely, that continues to be one of our highest priorities.
Thank you so much for all your answers. I'm going to pass it back now to our president, Diana.
Great, thank you so much. That concludes the end of our program. Thank you all so much for being here, panelists and students. Students, please stay a little longer. We do have a few resources that we want to share with you all. And we also have an evaluation form for all of you to complete if you want to win something free. So if we can put that slide up, Gus, please. And again, thank you, Frangelo, for providing links. I saw that. So thank you for that.
Let me thank Diana Chavez, who is so engaged in serving student needs and providing resources like this presentation today. We're so happy to have been invited and to have had the chance to participate. And it's all because you have such an engaged and concerned ASI president. So thank you, Diana.
Don't make me cry. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. It's really what the students motivate me to do this. So thank you for those kind words, President Covino. I appreciate it. Who will be going over the resource slide? Or should we just leave it up for right now? I do have, okay. So I added the chat. I added a link to the chat for evaluation form. Please fill out the form if you want to win anything, you'll be automatically entered. We really appreciate your feedback so we can help improve this for next spring if we're all willing to do it again. If not, please utilize this slide for any resources. If you want to learn more about the laptop and Wi-Fi, there is a link to that. The QR code, you just need your camera to access that. But thank you all for coming. I really do appreciate it, panelists and students. I hope you all have a good evening and enjoy the rest of your time. Thank you all.